Hello Shape enthusiasts, and welcome back to our second episode in our brand new MAM 2.0 series. We are making a MAM, a make anything machine that can dynamically piece together a shape so that we can tackle all of these random operator shapes that are going to come our way without having to build bespoke factories. Last episode, we used circuitry to create this dynamic shape selector. We've got these two platforms and we're inputting 6 different shapes. The 4 base shapes, a layer of pins, as well as our 3/4 scaffolding shape so that we can tackle some more of the complex crystal shapes with gaps and things like that. And we're using the wires and logic to dynamically select the shape that we want. So we have a brain over here that takes a shape input. At the moment, we're just using this as a test shape, but we eventually will take the random operator shape. So it takes this test shape and it feeds it through this logic circuit, destacks the test shape into all its different layers, and then it cuts the layers into quarters. So at the moment, we're just looking at the bottom right quarter, and then it pieces together a virtual shape of what that quarter layer would look like. Then it's sending all of these different shapes through these different channels, and at the moment, our test shape is, we're just using the one on channel 1.1. And it's sending that through to our platform over here, and it's going, all right, I want a yellow circle, going through the shape analyzer, which tells us that we want a circle. And then it uses this signal to go through which one is the circle, and it lets the circle through, blocks all of the other shapes. We combine all the belts, and at the end, we should just end up with the one shape that we want. I've only done this on 1 level at the moment because I'm sure the logic here is wrong. I don't want to copy it up to 3 levels and then realize it's wrong and have to edit it on 3 levels. But over here we have a bit more complex logic, which is basically if it's a gap or a crystal, then it needs to do something different, because for crystals we want to let through the entire 3/4 shape, but if it's a gap, then we just want a half shape for our scaffold so that we can create a half crystal that we can shatter later on. But that's all last episode. This episode, we're focusing on the next step. What is the next step? Well, if we want to make a yellow circle, we need yellow paint. So over here, we're in our staging area, I've brought in 4 belts of 6. Like each one of these is a full 43,000 or 6 belts of paint essentially. And there's 4 of them for later. But for now, we just need to worry about one of them. And we need this paint, and we need to turn these 3 primary colors into all 7 colors. Essentially, it can be any one of these 3 primary colors as well as the 3 secondary colors, all white. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to need a platform. Let's pick the platform that we want. I'm going to go with this just to give myself plenty of space, because that gives us our 3 inputs. So let's shove that in here, and then we're going to go, we want to input the red, input the green, input the blue, red, and green. So we've got our 3 inputs, some sort of program out here, and then we're going to have some output over here, which is going to be our color that we want. Over here, we need to let through the color that we're interested in, as well as somehow tell it to go and mix the color if it is a primary color, a secondary color, or white. That's going to be a little bit challenging, but let's tackle it one step at a time. So first, in the wires, we're going to get our operator signal receiver. Then from here, we can set a channel by putting through a signal producer, and we're going to take the thing from channel 1.1. And that's going to output a signal, and that signal is going to be the yellow circle. Fantastic. We've got a yellow circle. What can we do with that? Well, if we get our shape analyzer in here that takes an input, it will output 2 signals. One will be the color, one will be the top right of the shape, which is a quarter circle. We don't care about that. We only care about the color. So let's just shove that through a shape analyzer and get the color out. And now we know the color is yellow. Great. What do we do with that information? Well, we can mix that in with the flow control section, and there is a pipe gate over here. Let's see how a pipe gate works. So if we put a thing through a pipe gate, it goes, based on this signal, do I let this color through? So I'm going to flip this way, and then we're just going to put that through the pipe gate. Now it's going yellow. It goes, is the green yellow? No. Well, don't let my signal through. Don't let my liquid through, I should say. I'm going to move the brain over here a little bit so that we can play around with it. So let's go to our shape that we're trying to make, and instead of yellow, let's go green. So now the bottom right is green. It's going to send that signal through and go, I want a green circle. And now the green signal is coming through, which is great. That green signal is going to go, is this green? Yes, let my green through. This is essentially the behavior that we want. A couple of problems that we're going to have. This thing only lets through 1800 liquid per minute. So that essentially tells us that we need 4 of these, which is a little bit annoying. So the pattern that we use will be very similar to what we did for our shape thing, which is something like this. Which means this thing might need to be in this corner over here, giving us a little bit of room. So where's the closest we can put these? Just something like this. And then now we need to put the wire through here, which means we essentially need to launch this is probably the most space-saving thing. And then if we catch the fluid like this, then we've got our full pipe of fluid that we're interested in out. And we can now take our signal producer, bring it down here. And that brings us our full fluid of green when we want green. Great. That lets green through. Now we got to do something similar for all the other ones, but it's not even that straightforward because we don't just want to let green through when it's green. We also want to let green through when it's white, yellow, or cyan. So we need to test this thing to be the right color that we want. How do we test those 3 colors? Well, we're going to have to go back to our wire section, and we have all these logic gates, especially this equals logic gate, which is probably going to be what we're interested in. So we can go, is this equal to a constant signal that we produce? So we can go, is this equal to color G? And now it's going to go, yes, it is color green. But we also want that signal to test some other colors. So for example, we want to go, is this color cyan? Is this color yellow? And if we look at the signals that are coming out here now, it's going 1, which means true, yes. 0, which is no, no. But because it is one of these 3 colors or the secondary color that uses green, then in that case, we want to OR all 3 of these signals to go, is any of these true? Then let that through. So the OR signal, we can use the logic gate OR, and we can put a logic gate, say here, and then we can do that. And then we would want another logic gate, say here, and then we can do that. And the final signal that comes out, it goes, yes, it is the thing that we want. Fantastic. Now, given this logic signal, let's see if we can just sort of like condense it a little bit. Perhaps we can flip this. And then maybe we can put one of our OR gates in between here directly. And then we can put our final OR gate, say there. Like that. That's a little bit smaller. Maybe we can flip this inwards. And that's looking like a slightly smaller version of our same logic gate, and it's still outputting that same signal that we want. Now, potentially we can flip this. I'm just thinking, if we can jump the signal directly over, what if we jump the signal like this, and then say receive the signal right here? Then we don't need this gap, right? We just need to put the signal through here. Like that. And that. And then we don't need these. Can we now just merge all of this together? If you're enjoying the video and you want to support Data Engineer Plays, don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to share them in the comment section. I believe that's all right. And then we can now shove all of this a lot closer. Is there a more condensed way we can do this potentially? I don't think so. That looks good. Why is this having a little question mark over here? I'm missing that. All right, good. So this signal thing is telling it to let green through whenever we have green or any of its secondary colors. Great. Maybe we can move this back somewhere. Just trying to be as space efficient as possible. Probably don't need to be this space efficient, but that's fine. I don't know if I want a giant wire going all the way through here. Is there a way we can jump this signal all the way out? Because I don't want a big wire running down the center, so I kind of want maybe bring it this way. I can bring my signal. Oh no, it's conflicting with this signal. That's annoying. That doesn't work. Let's go out this way. I want my color signal there. So if I do something like this, kind of want a little display here as well, just so I know what I'm trying to produce. Now I can bring my green signal here, and that still works. But it gives me room to send the signal. Oh, I can't send it downwards either because this jump is too massive. Oh, that's annoying. Alright, well, we've got plenty of room. We can just send the signal straight down the middle for now. Unless I can put my signal producers like on the side here, maybe? That's probably a little bit smarter. If I put my signal producer on the side, then we just need to send the signal up across here. Let's try that configuration. Because what I kind of want is my signal just being on the back instead of being on the front. So if I just move everything up here, I think this will help us in the long run. Rather than having our signal coming down the middle like this, what I essentially want to do is send the signal wire down the side. So it's out of the way of whatever complex crap that we have to do a little bit later on. So we'll figure out where this goes a bit later. But essentially we want our green signal coming along here, and then we can do our logic kind of like next to it over here. Like this. And then we've got our logic over here, and then we can send the logic back this way. Like this. And then we can bring it in like that. Looks a little bit weird and roundabout, but I think this is the way to go. That way we've got a single pipe coming out that we can play with. And then we've got our logic signal over there. It looks already really big and messy and crazy, but I think this is the way to go. Now, if we take a copy of this, can we shove one here and then shove one here? Almost, but we don't have enough space to do the signaling over here. We can do the signaling for the red on this side, I suppose. So if we take our signal thing and put it onto this side, then we don't need this. Then we can just bring that signal straight in here. We don't need that. Yeah, I think that works, doesn't it? All right, let's set the colors. So over here, we're checking, are you blue? Or some combination of blue? Magenta. What's the other blue? Magenta or cyan. So cyan remains the same. Over here, yellow remains the same, but we're gonna go, are you red? Or are you, keep forgetting the colors, magenta. Great. So now it's going to let the color through when it's needed, essentially is what we've done. we need to connect this signal and this signal, and then it will do the thing. So now we need to do the actual mixing portion of this. And there's going to be 2 stages of mixing. So let's figure out how much color mixing we actually need. So each color mixer outputs 900. And when we output the final fluid, we need 1800 per launcher. So 2 makes 1 section. So we need 8. Like this. And of course, we're going to need to jump the fluids into some sections. So let's get the catches in. Then let's get the launchers in. Why does it hate my catches? There we go. So this should launch and catch over here. Let's get a pipe through. And we get another pipe through connecting all of these. Great. So now we just need to fit these 3 pipes into these 2 pipes. So the only logic that changes is this blue one, right? Because if it's like, we can always let red through one pipe and then green through another pipe. But then the blue sometimes needs to go through this pipe, and then it sometimes needs to go through that pipe. So that's the only tricky part of this logic. I'm going to move this a little bit out of the way and just do this the dumbest way possible, which is taking this pipe and then adding 2 more layers of logic to it. This feels unnecessary. How do I do this? Cleverer. So if I split the blue like this, and then I have a logic circuit like this, it's annoying that we can't just use one pipe gate for this, but essentially this is a logic circuit that goes, it's going to be red and blue if it's magenta. So if it's magenta, we want the blue to go this way. Because if it's magenta, there's going to be no green. So then this green and this blue can sort of merge into one. But then we need a whole nother layer of logic circuits, which just goes, is this magenta? This seems stupid a little bit, but let's just see if it works. We can do things inefficiently for now, and then we can figure out cleverer ways to do it and refactor our code. That's fine. So we go, is this magenta? It's not. And therefore, we're not going to let the blue through. And then if we do the same thing on the other side, say like here, and this side's going to check, is it, well, when do we want the blue through? Is it cyan, basically? And it's going to let that through. Like that. And that's going to merge with the red. I'm actually not thinking of any better way to do this. But now we've essentially got our 2 pipes, right? So one pipe's going to go in here and one pipe's going to go in here. So let's test if this works for our color mixing. So at the moment it's green, it's not going to do anything. Let's try one of our secondary colors. Let's go yellow. So if we go over here and we flush this to see it working, now that we want yellow, it's going to let through green and it's going to let through red, and then it's going to go mix yellow. Missing a pipe somewhere. There we go. There we go. We've got our yellow coming out now. Great. So that works for yellow. Let's try another secondary color. Go magenta. We'll flush this platform. And now it's going, is it magenta? So because it's magenta, the blue is coming through here, but over here, it's not letting it through because it's not cyan. So this blue isn't mixing with this red, which is great. What it's doing instead is going up this way, and it's going out this green pipe, which is going in here. And now we're mixing magenta. Fantastic. So magenta works. Let's try cyan. We'll flush this platform again. to get rid of all the color. And now because it's cyan, it's going out this way. It's not mixing this section, but it is mixing this section over here. And it's now creating cyan. So this makes all our secondary colors work. Fantastic. But now we need to get our primary color out as well. So our primary color essentially is already in these pipes. So potentially we can use them again. Maybe I'm going to bring this all back a little bit, or maybe I'll leave the room for the logic. So because the logic's already coming through here, maybe we can turn this into an OR gate for blue, because what I'm thinking is, can we not just take this pipe out? Because this is already primary colors, right? And then if we just merge the primary colors out this way, that should just give us what we want. Because let's see what happens when we go back to a primary color. Let's go with green first. If we flush this platform, let's have a look at where the green is, right? The green is already here. Unless we have more logic over here that lets out green through a different passage. But either way, we're going to need to do flow control. Otherwise, all the pipes are just going to be all joined and the color is going to flow everywhere. So at some point over here, we need additional logic to go, all right, if it's a primary color, we're going to let it through a pipe. So unfortunately, we're going to need another 2 sets of logic over here, right? Let me think about this for a second. And now I'm looking at this section over here. The logic seems a little bit redundant in that we're checking if it's magenta, cyan, or blue, and then letting it through, and then checking again if it's magenta or cyan. So let's fix that up a little bit. We can get rid of this. We can get rid of this. And then we'll just replace our check somewhere else in a bit. I'm going to take this and just bring that out here. So really what we should be doing is taking this section and doing this check, like 1 on this side and maybe like 1 on this side. Then if we just bring that pipe this way and just connect it all through here like this, then we've got 2 separate checks, right? Now we can do the check on this side. I forget which side was which, but basically to merge with the red, we need it to be cyan. So if this is equal to cyan, I'll just flip that around. Then we let it through, and we can let it through here. Right, and then on this side, we do the same thing, but we do the check is equal to magenta. Over here. Don't like all these extra wires. Then we bring that check over here and go, is that equal to magenta? If it is, then we let the blue fluid merge into this pipe. Fantastic. Let me just validate this logic is actually working. We also need to let blue out at some point. So we got to do a check to go, is it equal to blue? I'm just figuring out which side has sort of more space to do that. I want to say this side, but this side also doesn't have enough space. What if I move this out 1? And then we do the blue check on this side too. I think it's arbitrary where we do the blue check. So we'll do the blue check on this side. And we will stick an OR logic gate over here. Like that. And let's get rid of some of this extra wiring. And then we can connect that up like that. All right, now with this new logic, let's figure out where all our colors are going to be given all the different conditions. So at the moment we're testing green, which is fantastic. The green pipe is just coming through. We got to be a bit careful about joining this all up because essentially we want to join all 3 of these pipes into one pipe, right? Like that. But if we do that, it's going to backwards flow, as you can see. So we've got to be a little bit careful about doing that. So we cut this pipe now. Let's have a look at this. So if we do the primary, well, let's check all the secondary colors work first. So if it's yellow, flush that, and we can see red and green is flowing through here, and then yellow will flow out there. Let's check magenta, just make sure all our logic is still working. So if it's magenta, the blue is going to flow out this way, and then it's going to be red and blue, makes magenta. Fantastic. And finally, let's check cyan. Flush that again, and then with cyan, the blue is going to flow to the right, and then it's going to be green and blue, which makes cyan. Fantastic. We've got all our primary colors and our secondary colors coming out now. So let's check our primary colors where everything's going to float. So say it's red. So we flush that. Red is going to come through here. Nothing else is going to be let through, so we're just going to get a pipe of red there. Green, similarly, nothing's going to be flowing, only the green will come out. We flush that. You can see only green is coming out through this pipe, and the tricky one is going to be the blue. So let's check what happens when we get blue. So blue would work similarly in that it's going to go out this side, and then here comes the blue, and it's going to go out here, and only blue will flow. So we basically got RGB all done. Now we need to control the backwards flow. So over here, at some point, we need logic to go, all right, is it going to be a primary color? If it is a primary color, then we want it to go forwards. If it's not a primary color, then we just want it to stop here, because that's where all the other things are going to be. Now, I'm just thinking, should we move this all back a bit and create some space for ourselves? So let's just get rid of all this, and let's just put this on this half, like that. I'm just leaving a little bit of gap in case we need more space for anything. We'll worry about condensing it in a little bit. So that was going through here, and then this pipe was going through here. We want it to come down along the side as well. We basically want it to flow this way, upwards, right? So we want it to go out this way, like that. Make it a little bit cleaner. I think this is a good way for the stuff to flow. We could even condense this even more, because I don't think we need logic back here, right? We're not going to need any more logic space over here. So let's just move these pipes back a bit, use it, clean up as much space as we can. And then who knows, we might even have enough space to make this all into a 1x3 at some point in our lives. But for now, let's just do that. So there we go. We've got all of our colors coming through out of these three pipes now. It's either going to be primary or secondary. So we need our check over here to let the primary colors through. So we need some sort of checking device like this. And we're going to need two of them, because this check needs to go, is it a primary color? Then let it through. Is this a primary color? Then let it through, right? It needs to check both. I can't merge these, otherwise they're gonna merge together. It's gonna backwards flow. Do I care if it backwards flows? Yes, because when it's a secondary color, I don't want the blue and the red to mix. So let's see if we can't implement the logic for this. At some point, we need to check whether this color is primary. So where can we do that? Maybe like in this box. It's basically an RGB check. So it's going to be something like this. Oops. So there's your R, your G, and then your B. I mean, we can do the check out here as well. Doesn't really matter. We just need to send the signal through here somehow. You can move this out like one tile. Spending way too much time on trying to place these somewhere, but doesn't really need to be placed anywhere particular. But I did that so I can transmit the signal up this way. So we put a signal transmitter here, and then here. We can send our color signal through here, and now we can check whether it's RGB. Ah, the wires are so annoying to deal with. Alright, here we go. Now we're checking if it's RGB. And we've got the OR signal over here. And then we need another OR signal over here. Something like that. And then once it's done that check, we can now beam that signal out. And now we've got a yes/no signal to let these things through. So it's going to be something like this. Then we need to beam it that way. So we'll receive the signal right here. and then we'll put that through here. And then it's going, yes, this is an RGB color, and therefore I want to let it through here. I'm just gonna maybe move this back a bit. We'll give it some room in case we need to do shenanigans. So like that. And then that's going to go into here. And that one's going to go into here. There we go. And now that's letting that through. Just going to flush this. There we go. Now the blue signal is being let through. And that's going to let the primary color through. So we should be able to now, after this, merge these three pipes together into a single pipe. Do we want to merge it into a single pipe yet, or do we want to do the white now? Now we've got a color that's either going to be an RGB or it's going to be a secondary color. So now when we want white, we need to let a certain particular set of colors through as well. Oh god, I'm not going to have enough space to do all the logic here, am I? Oh dear. Alright, let me think about this for a second. So we've got this. This is actually going to already work without white. I can prove that by doing this pipe. Like, let's just pretend this is our final color output, and then we'll worry about the white, right? So here we go. We've got the blue over here now. I'm going to just move the brain a little bit out this way. So, get out of here. Let's just test all the colors. Let's do the primary first. So now I'm doing red. We flush everything, and we can see red flows through here now. It's backwards flowing through here, don't worry about it. But most importantly, it's coming out. So then we've got green. We've flushed the green, and now everything's green and green's coming out. Let's try the secondaries. Now the secondaries take a little bit of time, so let's let it do cyan first. So now we can see this logic over here is going, because it's a secondary color, this gate is not letting out our two primary colors, and it's waiting for it to mix a secondary color, and then it's coming through here. Great. So now we've got cyan. Let's test the other two. I'm sure it'll work. Next is yellow. I'm gonna flush the platform. So with the yellow, now we can see the green and the red is here, and now it's about to mix. Same logic applies. It mixes the yellow. Yellow goes through here, backwards flows through here. The flow control over here says it's not primary, not letting the green and the red through. And now we've got yellow. And the final test is just magenta. Now, if we didn't have to worry about white, this color dynamic selection would just be done now. So I'm going to flush this now. And with magenta, we can see the red and the blues here. Now we're just waiting for it to mix magenta. There it goes, mixing a magenta. And now it's coming through here. The flow control over here is again stopping it because it's not a primary color. And we're getting out magenta. Nice. So that's pretty much that. But now we need to figure out white. So let's put in color white. Now, if we go color white, we can see everything is blocked because none of this stuff checks if it's white. But basically, if it's a white, we want it to mix the red and the green, and then we kind of just want the blue to flow out separately, right? But we need its own pipe for blue. Or we let the blue and the red come out, and then we do a separate pipe for green. I'm just wondering which one is more sort of space efficient. Because if we let the red and the green through, it's going to flow through these secondary pipes, go through the color mixer. And then the blue also goes through the same piping. So the blue, one of these needs a separate path to come out. And it can either be the red or the green, I guess. Does this fit? No, it doesn't. I'm running out of space for my logic checking. Tempted to do it down there because my little brain is up here. It doesn't really matter. Either way, it's going to be complicated. Maybe I'll do it down here so it doesn't have to cross any pipes. So the red can come out on a separate channel. I don't think there's any way to avoid a separate channel for these colors. because yeah, it's not going to work, right? So that means I need to move this out one tile. And lucky we left room for shenanigans, because we're about to do shenanigans. And then the check for the red, I'm thinking, can we do it like a little bit like this? Because then, can we do the check for this better? Not really. Nowhere has any more space for checking. If we did it here, we can't move that up one tile. I think I need to create some more space, so I'm just going to put this back here. Let's see if we can do this check like slightly better. What if we did it like this way? Or can we put this check up the top? Maybe. So if I flip this around, and then we did the wire all the way along the outside, can we fit this check? Oh crap, deleted the check. If we take this wire, flip it around the outside, let's see if we can move this a little bit better. And if we move this check up here, oh, we're like one tile short. It's a bit annoying. Let's move this out one more tile. Then we can put this here. No, two more tiles. Like that. I'm being greedy with my space because I'm thinking maybe we can fit this into a 1x3, but I doubt it. So let's just put that check there. Then we've got plenty of space over here, so we can move this check up like here. Then we've created space over here, so we can move this entire thing like, say, let's just put it 2 tiles up. Because we've got the space, why not? So we'll move that there. Then we'll bring that in like that. Great. So that check is now there. Now we can shift all of this up a bit. We don't need this over here because we can bring the signal for this RGB check over from the other side now. That was the whole point. Like this. Now we've got our RGB check back in place. We can move all of this up a bit. Like 1 tile. Probably do 2 tiles. Like that would work still. It's going to be a little bit asymmetrical, but that's fine. Now we can move that cyan check over here. Like that. And that's created all our space that we need, hopefully. Now we can move this final RGB check up like a few tiles. Which means we can move this whole thing up a few tiles. And that should be fine, right? Looks a bit weird, but I think it's still okay. We can probably move this RGB check even more. That doesn't really help. Oh, it does help. We can move this cyan check all the way up. And then we can bring this signal up this way. And then we can bring this check like over here now. like that. And this check should be our regular red check. Like that. This signal needs to continue at some point in the future, so I'm going to give it a little bit of room to do that. It's going to get a little bit janky, but I did that so I could move this, oops, a little bit over. So at least it doesn't fully intersect. Like that. And then we can get a duplicate of this on this side. Now we have at least a little bit of room. Now this main one is still just this old pipe. So that just connects into there, and that should be okay. Now this is the new pipe that we're going to do for the final white. So we need a check at some point to go, is this white, essentially? So we got a little bit of room over here. We can now test this color to go, are you white? Right, so if it's white, we want you to go there. Nope. That connects there. And then are you white goes over here. So we're going to need to do some tricky signal jumping. Over here. Over here. And then there. Like that. And then a receiver here. Oh, that just fits. And then here we go. Are you white? And now this pipe can go like that. And then it's going, yes, I'm white. I'm going to let a primary color through. Now these also need to let it through the appropriate pipe. So if it's white, the blue needs to go here and the green needs to go here. So this check over here, that's going, are you cyan, needs to be an are you cyan or white check. Oh God. That's going to be a little bit of a problem, right? Maybe we can move this back over here. I can't believe the logic gates are my problem now. We're also not utilizing the second level yet. Theoretically, because this check only needs to happen on the first level, I can just build this onto the second level, but it's just going to be a pain. So I'm trying not to do that. Great. So here's the check. There's not enough space for the are you white check. I think we can move this one more tile out. I don't think that hurts anything. I think that one tile will probably help. Because that is still fine. And then this can just be shifted down one tile. And that should still be essentially the same function, right? So we can move all of this down one more. Now this can be moved here. Now we can move that there. Now the are you white check can be moved over here. Now we can do the are you white check, but now this needs to be into an OR gate because this is an are you white or are you cyan. So if I put my equals here and then do that, it's going to get a little bit convoluted, but there's the are you cyan, but it's not just an are you cyan anymore. It's an are you cyan or white. So what if I move my white check here and we go, are you white? Are you cyan? We can't do it directly into an OR gate, but if we leave one more space of room, we should be able to use this signal twice without doing the check twice. Ah, so close. What if we put a wire crossy here? We should be able to cross the wire at some point. So are you white, are you cyan? And then the result can cross back over that way. Let's put that OR gate in. And then here's the signal, are you white, are you cyan? And then the result of that signal can go through here. Is that a cross? How do I know if it's a cross? It is a cross. Because it is white. So white is letting that through. And then this signal that just says, are you white? Goes through here and goes, yes, I am white. So now it's letting blue through. And it's letting that through. And then over here on the green, we just need another OR gate, right? So if I just move this back out a bit, let's just move this out. And then let's just flip this. And then flip it over this side. And then we run the signal along here now. And then we can go, are you white or green? Then we put that through this OR gate. And then it goes, yes, I'm white. So the green is now coming through here. The blue is now coming through here. And the red is coming through here. The green and the blue will mix. And it should come out through here. So now this and this belt should now mix together as into another color mixer. So let's just put another series of color mixes somewhere. Let's just do it here arbitrarily. I want it with all the jumpers as well, so I know how big it is. We can do something like that. And then we can go, that goes in there. And then we can go, this goes in here. Now, when it's a primary color, this one will be a primary color and this one will be excluded. So, oh man, that means we need one more logic check to see which out of these two pipes we let out. So this primary color check needs to happen one more time here so that it can mix with this pipe. So I need this again. So this is going to be the primary color check. And it's basically this wire over here. I'm just going to wire it the dumbest way possible just to get the functionality in. And now this pipe should be able to come out and just mix with this pipe. Like that. And that should get me all my colors, including white now. As we can see right now, it's white. And we are indeed getting white out through this crazy logic. I don't think I'm going to be able to fit this onto a 1x3. I probably can. It's going to be like really a lot of work, but we will see. But let's just test if all the colors work. So let's do a secondary color. So I've just cleared it now. We're doing yellow. So we're trying to make this yellow. Red and green is coming out through here. Let it mix. By the way, if you want your MAM to be faster, don't do this. Because as you can see, it takes ages for colors to mix. It has to do this twice before any color even starts coming out. But yes, here we go. The yellow is now coming through here. And then because it is... right. This check is not the same check again. It's a different check. This is an are you white check. Because if it's not white, it needs to let this color through now. And also, it's gonna drain this color before it goes through this thing, right? So it has to like fill this before it lets all the color through. So it is very, very slow. It has to fully fill this back up and then it will let the rest of the color through. But yes, this check is not this check. This is an are you white check. So we can do this check here. Oop. We'll just borrow the one over here. So we already got an are you white check over here. So we're going to borrow that. And then we're going to bring this over to this side. And then we're going to put it through what is a NOT gate. And that should be that. I hope that works. But then what about uncolored? Uncolored might let a color through, but it shouldn't matter. We'll test it all. So we have a NOT gate that reverses a signal. So a 0 goes in and a 1 comes out. So if it's not white, it lets the color through, which is fine. So let's go back to white now with that check. Flush all this. Now it goes, yes, it is white. So this 1 becomes a 0, and therefore it's not going to let the secondary color through, and it's going to let it flow through this whole system again. I can already see that it's going to work because it's cyan. It's going to go through here, here, and then white will come out. But let's just validate that. Here we go. We got the cyan mixing with the red, and now we're getting white. And white is now coming through. Fantastic. All right, that works. So we already tested with cyan. We've tested with yellow. We'll test one of the primary colors. So let's go blue. Blue is the trickiest color. So if it's blue, what's letting it through is this side. So it's coming through this side. It's going down here through the color mixing area. The primary color thing is letting it through. And then this thing is going, it's not white, so it's letting it through over here. So that's letting blue through. That's perfectly fine. It's got a bit of a travel time, but yes, I think this pretty much is our logic that works. Our next question is this possible to fit onto a 1x3? I don't think so. Because you need like half the platform already to do that. And then the color mixing, like let's just put, say like this thing over here. And then can you even fit an array of color mixes in here? It's not possible, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's possible. So we're going to leave it like this. I don't know why I have a hitch over here. I'll leave it for homework for you guys to figure out if you can get this onto a 1x3 platform. I'm sure it's possible, but you'd have to probably figure out how to refactor this logic a little bit better. Like over here, this pipe logic. It's just annoying that these pipe gates only let out 1800 liters, because if it let out the full combined 4 pipe thing, then definitely possible. But because of this extra logic and all this extra logic over here that we have to do, and having to split the pipe into 4 and then recombine it, yeah, there's not really any way to do that better, right? I mean, you can technically, like, I'm thinking like pipe gates like this might be a little bit more space efficient, and then you could possibly pipe in the wire like that. No, but then how would you let the thing through the pipe? No, that wouldn't work either, right? Yeah, I don't know how to make a more space-saving pipe logic check anywhere, but I think this is okay. So this makes our dynamic color, and again, we're not really worried about optimization right now. We kind of just want to make things that work. So that gets us our color, and then let's just double check what happens for uncolored, because that's the only thing we haven't tested. So if it's uncolored, I think nothing would just come through, right? The blue is blocked, the green is blocked, the red is blocked. No color is coming through at all for uncolored. Yeah, I think that's all good. It's a reasonably clean way of doing it. I know I've got a lot of unnecessary platform space. Just wondering if we can maybe do this in a slightly smaller form factor. I know I don't need this much space, like maybe a 2x2 would have been okay to do this in. But I like the idea of all the color coming in one side and then coming out the other. So I guess we'll just leave it in this form factor for now. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done. Now we can take this color and then we can put it through basically a painter with a little bit of logic for a bypass, I believe would work. And we should be able to get our painted shape out. But we'll do that next episode. So we've got our dynamic color selection, we've got our dynamic shape selection, we just need to piece it all together now. So if you don't want to miss out on that, don't forget to leave a like and sub, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.